Welcome to Mindful Talk, brief conversations about mindfulness in the workplace and at home. I am your host, Lauren Wessinger.
And I'm your host, Misti Anderson. And this podcast is brought to you by the Mindful Project.
The Mindful Project helps you elevate the culture of your business by bringing mindfulness practice to you and your staff through in-person and virtual learning. Contact us through our website, themindfulproject.co, for more information.
Welcome to another episode of Mindful Talk. Today, we are talking about mindful relationships, and I have a very special guest. No, it's not Lauren. It's my husband, Barrett Anderson. Welcome, Barrett.
Hello.
Are you nervous?
Glad to be here in my own home.
Yes, sitting beside me in our office. So it's February, and Lauren and I were like, it's quote unquote the month of love, and what better way to really learn a little bit more about Lauren and I, and also hear some perspectives on different kinds of relationships. So Barrett and I have been together now for 11 years?
Yes. It's 22 now. We met in 10, so it'll be 12 years in May, right?
At what point do you start forgetting how many years it is?
Today.
Okay, so we've been together a while, and we are a military family. Barrett is a U.S. Marine, and he is retiring soon. Are you excited?
Yes, very excited.
So we have lots of changes coming up in our world, but throughout the course of our relationship, we've moved a lot. We've had a lot of different jobs. We've had a lot of different people that we've interacted with that have been different from the people we've grown up with. So we've kind of taken all of those experiences, and we're hoping to move them into the next part of our journey, which is retirement. So that's a little bit about a background about us and kind of our relationship. I think one thing that's special and unique about Barrett and I is that most people will agree, and I believe this in my heart, we are very good partners. Would you agree to that?
Yep, I think we do a lot of give and take, and we trust each other to take care of things that, we kind of understand the other one is routinely, in charge of, and I think we do a good job of that. It's been my job for all of these years to just go do the military thing and, plan for the retirement to help us out in that way, and then excuse me, and then we're trying to get figuring out what we're going to be doing soon has been a little stressful. But what's been nice about, I think, what we've done over the years is when you stopped doing the corporate work and staying at home, that was something that I always really, appreciated, and it made our last 12 years for sure a lot easier, I think, military-wise, because we do have to move a lot, and there's a lot of moving parts. So, I think we're pretty good in that retrospect as far as the give and take goes.
That makes you feel really good. This is like therapy. That's what Lauren and I always say. The partnership piece, when people ask me about our relationship and they're like, you never get mad at Barrett. And I'm like, first of all, time out. I'm a normal human. I get mad at people just like everybody else does. But I think one of the things that I really strive to do with you, and I know you do with me, is just be mindful that you're a very important person in my life. Like, you're my best friend. And so I wouldn't treat many of my friends with disrespect or passive aggressiveness or yelling. And while that does happen because we're normal, I think one of the things we both strive to do is be really mindful that we're thinking about the other person.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah. I would say, would you agree, in the last, I guess since Valerie, so 5 years, we've really even come to a different level of being able to understand each other.
Yeah, I think the two kids, factor changes a lot. And after Valerie was born, I think we settled into our roles, though, kind of like I was talking about with, you being at home and me focusing on just getting through, my career to where we could start a new one. And I think, Valerie was kind of that thing that completed our home. We knew that we were going to have 2 kids, and that was it for us. And I think it worked out, perfectly. We probably couldn't handle a third one. So yeah, I think, after Valerie was born, our roles, I guess, really seemed cemented, and you did yours, awesome. And I, like I said, we're going to be moving forward and doing something completely new now, which is kind of scary.
It is scary, right?
Yeah.
So that leads me to think about like obstacles in our marriage. What do you think has been our biggest obstacles thus far?
I know me personally, I'm not very good at talking.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm a much better writer. I seem to communicate better with texts, and I've actually done a lot of that in probably the last 2 years, and I'm sure you've noticed it. But I tend to put more of my emotion into a text message because I feel like it comes off a little better. Because sometimes I sound a little bit monotone, or it's been, I don't know, a little condescending is what it sounds like, and I understand that. And you've even told me this a few times that maybe just comes out a little bit weird. So that's something that I've struggled with, but I also actively think about it basically every time I have a conversation, and that's with anybody now. I've kind of moved that into my professional life as well, and I try to think about how maybe that person wants to receive me, and not that I'm trying to be fake when I speak to people, but I understand that I just don't really come off like it is in my head sometimes when I speak. And so I've worked on that a lot in our marriage, and I think it's worked pretty well. I think for a while I thought the text message thing was a little taboo and like you shouldn't put your feelings in a text. But I had a therapist that actually told me that was something that's really good. It's a really good way of communication, because some people that don't communicate at all, that's exactly the problem. They don't communicate with their partner, and if my communication is through a text message and it tells you how much I love you in the day, then I think that's just as important as if I said it, face to face, which we say plenty. But yeah, that's been one of my struggles. I think throughout our whole relationship. But that's a me thing, and I know it. You're much better at speaking, I feel like, and you're much more emotional, and it kind of comes out in you, and I can always tell what mood you're in. Whereas I kind of shut off, and I'm maybe a typical man problem that I just don't really speak enough about what's bothering me. So yeah, that's been one of my things.
Well, I mean, I commend you, because Barrett isn't always putting a label on things like I am, like calling it mindfulness, but he is a very, very mindful human and lives his life that way. And so it's very exciting and interesting to me to live in the house with another person who is practicing their own mindfulness practice, but in a very different way than I do. My mindfulness practice is a lot about obviously being a good spouse and a good role model for my kids, but the meditation piece and the things I do for myself in that way. He doesn't necessarily practice meditation, though I know you do body scans, right? Which is meditation, so I shouldn't say.
Yep.
Yeah, so he has his own practice, and it's different and it's private, but he's been working on that.
I breathe a lot.
Good. Breathing is, it's like everybody in our house.
Deep breaths.
Yes. Well, and what he was saying about, not showing emotion and stuff. I think a lot of partners can relate with, out of the two, one of them's not going to be the more articulate, emotional one. And when we first started texting, like when big things would happen, I would be like, man, I feel like we need to have this conversation in person. Actually, just happened like last week. We actually had our first fight we have a fight every 18 months, I would say. I was like thinking back when this happened.
Right on schedule.
Yeah. And so, and I'm talking like, the actual someone pops and yells. It was me because I was not saying things that I needed to say. And then like a normal human, they build up and you pop. And then you talk through it. But as we were going through this, we were texting and having a really great conversation, and it felt so good to let go of that stigma that I used to have of, I need to have this conversation in person. Because the truth is, I do know Barrett well enough to know now he's actively trying, and he doesn't want to upset me by coming off, just hard and emotionless. Not that he is, but I mean, guys, he's a Marine. It's not like they all sit up there and sing Kumbaya songs all the time. And so I meet him where he's at. And if that's the best way for him to communicate, and quite frankly, I really like it too, because I actually like to be able to think through my thoughts before I say what I'm going to say, because I am so rash and quick that texting gives me the ability to kind of say, okay, deep breath, check it, look from his point of view, which is ultimately the best thing you can do as a partner, is try to see it from their shoes and then continue on. And so I agree with him about the texting. And that was one of the things I actually had on my list. Is I know a lot of couples who are better at communicating that way. Okay, so one of the things I wrote down was one of the things that Barrett does amazingly well. And if there's one thing that I can, suggest to you out there as partners, is lifting that person up. So I've struggled because I came from the corporate world. I made a great income. I was, very successful. And I'm using that word in air quotes because that's what old Misti thought success was defined as. And so it had been challenging to me. Barrett knows that, and he's very aware of that. And so he makes me feel valued in other ways, and makes sure that I know that I'm contributing in other ways. And that really means a lot to me. On the flip side, I want him to know that he's more than just the breadwinner. And I hope you feel that way, right?
Sure.
Okay, good.
Take out the trash.
No, he's an important piece of this family, and he's a wonderful dad, and he's the person that makes me laugh. Actually, is a person in the whole family that makes everybody laugh. And so he has a lot to give. And I feel like the lifting each other up and being supportive is so important. And as we've navigated this road of being a military wife, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell him. I don't know the process. He's using a whole bunch of TMOs and PCSs and acronyms I don't know. So my default is literally support him. How can I support you? Like, what do you need from me? How can we be a team on this together? Do you think that just showing up for someone and being there for someone is one of the biggest things?
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes you do a lot in the background, and if no one tells you they appreciate it, then it kind of goes, unnoticed in your eyes, I guess. And so, yeah, I'm pretty big on that. Even though I'm not like a huge cheerleader type of a person. Again, that goes back to the text messaging. I tend to communicate a little better that way because I can write it out, read it, kind of rewrite it. But when it comes to praising someone, I try to do my best because in my head and heart I appreciate all of it so much that. If you don't say anything at all, then that kind of stuff goes unnoticed, and it starts to weigh on people, and it starts to feed a little resentment, and you're like, well, I'm doing all this for us and the family and the kids, but if no one ever says anything to you that hey, they appreciate it, then you kind of start to think that it's pointless, and that's probably what ends up driving people, I think, apart maybe. And we can feel it sometimes too when maybe we go a little while without appreciating each other out loud. And both of us start to go down a little bit, but we're also really good about telling each other that too. The Love Nudge app.
Talk about that.
I haven't been quite as active in that thing as I wanted to, but I do go in there and I will update, my love tank, essentially, like what level it's at, and that gives Misti the ability to go in there and look at that. And I think that's been just another tool we added, whether or not we use it every day, at least it's there. And I guess that would be something that was considered mindful, because we think about stuff and like, how can we help? And that's just another tool I think that we got to show things like that, show appreciation.
He's talking about, there's an app, I think it's called Nudge.
Love Nudge.
Okay, yeah. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with the 5 love languages, right? So acts of service, physical touch, gifts,
time, I think, spent like
quality time,
yep.
And gosh, what's the other one? So basically,
words of affirmation or something, maybe.
That's what it is.
Something like that.
So those are the different ways that people can be loved. And the cool thing is this isn't just about your partner. It can also go to your kids. Like my kids receive love very differently. And so you're able to take that information. So you go onto the app, you sign up, you and your partner, it sends your partner a code, and then it basically gives you like a quiz. And that quiz sets you up for, how do I receive love? Because the way he receives it. So what was your top one?
My top one is physical touch, and I think it's followed closely by acts of
service.
Service.
So in mine was acts of service and words of affirmation.
I think like that. I feel like we might be getting that one wrong, but it's
sort
of like that. It's
acts of service was big. Go take out the trash without me asking. That's what that means. Yeah. But I mean, like little things like, so the other day when we had the disagreement and we like reconvened and we got back together and we were like, okay, we're not appreciating each other. We need to remember. He like went in and he updated his love tank, and it sends me a text message saying, Barrett has updated his love tank. And when I look at it, it gives me a really clear idea of how he's feeling, because it's a percentage. So it's like 20% full or like 85% full. So if I get a 20% full, that's it's like an easy way of him saying, hello, me, I need some time with you. Come touch and scratch my head, And it always makes me think.
It's subtle too, and it doesn't come off quite as needy as if you stare at someone on the couch and say, "Hey, I need a massage now."
Yes,
right now. It just comes off a little better if you put it into something like that. That then almost it's like, it's your idea once you go to fill your spouse's love tank, because even though your spouse may have said something and put it out there, it was kind of your act to take care of it. And so that's, I think that's good both ways.
Did your therapist suggest that?
I think so. Yes, she did.
So see, it came from quality people and we've used it, and I think it's really helped us. So 2 other things that I have that I feel like are really important and that we do, we create goals. And I think there's so many people that are goal-oriented out there, and we talk about goals on this podcast all the time. And it's one thing to have your own goals. I have tons of my own goals. But as a couple, Barrett and I have very specific goals. In fact, recently, whenever we were planning like what's next and our move and how do we organize all of this, I was like, let's just make goals. And so we have, sold our house. Check. We got that goal. And so we're going through that right now. And it's so fun because every time we do check a box, I'm like, babe, we checked a box. We met a goal. So I think it's, everybody responds to goals. And I don't think it's any different as a couple. And it's like important because it's where we want our life as a family to go. It's not just, we want to make X number of dollars next year or whatever. It's some of our goals are like, we want to host Christmas with our family in Colorado, or we want a vacation in California with our kids and take them to San Diego, or whatever it is, those goals are on there and we have them. So I feel like those really hold us accountable and keep us kind of moving in the right direction. And I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, I work well with structure, obviously, because I've been a Marine for 20 years, and that's what we do. We structure things, and you go stand here. Okay, check, and then okay, yeah, your turn. Now open that door, walk through it, check. This dumb it down for the Marines. The goal thing is, I use goals in everything. If I don't write something down and then check it off later, I feel very unaccomplished. So even if I get a lot of tasks done during the day, if I don't see it, like on a piece of paper or in my phone on my notes that I actually checked off something, I feel like I had a bad day. So I have to go in there, and I'll even write down tasks after I'm done with them.
Oh, I do that.
And check them, just be like, yeah, that's
right.
right.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, look at that. I did that. But it may not have even been on my to-do list for the day, but it just makes me feel a little bit more accomplished, and which in turn makes me happier, and then it makes us happier. And that's one of the things that I have struggled with, that, just if I'm not happy, I know that it bleeds out into the family, and I don't like that. And that's so stuff like that helps me, I think, relationship wise, and just it's the little things, they just kind of add up.
Yep, I agree. The last piece of advice before we close, or I shouldn't say advice, things that we do well, is ask for feedback. I was told a long time ago in a previous job that feedback is a gift. And, we're often, usually when someone says, I need you to do this, or can you do this way, it's a human nature, I think, to like take offense to it and jump back. When in fact, and I have to work on this, I take a lot of stuff too personally. And because I'm emotional, then I just want to cry. And my emotions come out my eyeballs, and it annoys the heck out of me. So I try to work on that, because he's very good about giving feedback, positive feedback and negative feedback. And he's also very, very good about asking, what can I do? And that simple question, sometimes there's nothing he can do. But asking that question is so amazing, because it just makes me feel like my partner's there. My teammate, he gets it. He's on my side. If he could help, he would. But right now, I just need him to listen. And so I think feedback in a relationship, said the proper way, and it might even be through text message, is very important.
Yeah, I gave up trying to fix things a long time ago, and more just give my the option to, hey, I'm here if you need something, let me know. I kind of want to phrase it that way more than how can I fix it, because I don't think that ever comes off very well, because sometimes you can't fix something, but maybe if you just at least offer your opinion or your services, or whatever, but you're more putting it out there as an option for you to take. I think that comes off a lot better. I don't like it when people try to fix my problem for me either. I'm a very I don't know. I'm kind of a loner in my thoughts. I'm just one of those type that I'm thinking about every avenue in every situation, and almost to a fault. And so when someone tries to just flat out fix it or tell me how to do it, that doesn't come off very well to me, because I've probably thought about that exact thing that you just said 10 times in my head, and I've played it out, and it either worked or didn't work for me. But anyways, kind of a long way of putting it, but yeah, feedback is for you. I've noticed is a big thing. So I do try to at least give the opinion, but not really in a way that is more, I don't know, it's going to come off, wrong if I don't agree with it, because I'm kind of an honest person. Whatever comes out of my mouth is usually the most honest version. And again, that it comes off wrong sometimes, and I know it, and sometimes it's really frustrating. But I definitely know that feedback is big for you, because you do a lot, and kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, I do try to at least acknowledge it. Whether or not I'm going to give you a strong opinion or not. I don't want to, upset the herd or anything. So maybe I'll just, say not necessarily what you want to hear, but maybe what you need to hear at the moment. And that can just be the nudge you need to continue. And so.
I love that. You're such a good husband and partner, and I appreciate you so much. And you guys, he's so amazing. I can't even, he should have his own podcast, and he should be talking to you guys, because the work he's done over the last couple of years in regards to his own mindful work and really, healing his brain is so inspiring. I can't even begin to explain to you. So I'm very honored that you were with me today.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun.
And I really appreciate everyone listening. We will see you back next week. It will be, I believe, we're going to extend our Valentine's Day, and you will hear from Lauren and Eric. So from our house, from the Andersons, we wish you well, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for listening to Mindful Talk. We don't take it lightly that you spent your time listening to our podcast, and we are forever grateful. If you'd like to support the podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a rating and a review. Welcome to a more mindful way of living and working.